All right, Shalom, Israel, giving all praises to Yahweh by Hashem Yahushai, by Hashem Rakakadash, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahushai. Double honors to the apostle, elders, great millstone, my salutations to the brothers teaching word for the hopeful elect, soon to be elect, most high will. To the hopeful extend elect, Shalom, blessing. I'm going to call this Who is Esau and Jacob. I'm going to do two parts of this, most high willing. And most high willing is edifying. Going straight to the story. I'll try to read it quickly so I can get to some points. It says in Genesis 25 and 19, and these are the generations of Isaac, Abraham's son. Abraham begot Isaac, and Isaac was 40 years old when he took Rebekah to wife, and daughter of Bethuel, the Syrian of Adoniram, the son of Laban and Syrian, and Rebekah was probably like 13 to 14. And Isaac entreated the Lord for his wife because she was barren. And the Lord was entreated of him, and Rebekah his wife conceived. And the children struggled together within her, and said, if it so be, why am I thus? So the children struggled, Esau and Jacob struggled. And if you don't know who Esau was, it's going to say, but Esau is a so-called white man, and he came out, it's going to say that he came out red. Jacob is so-called black, Latino, Native Americans of the tribes of Israel, starting with the elect. Now, it said he came out red. We're going to get that scripture. Nobody's purple, nobody's yellow on earth, nobody's green, nobody's pink or blue. But there is a color red, because he has translucent skin, which the blood shows forth through his skin. So there is a red people on the earth. They call themselves redneck, red child, Rothschild. You know, we've been over this story, but you know, I want to add some significant, point out some significant things. Not that that has not already been broken down. So, you know, going back to the story, it says, and the Lord, so the children struggled together within her own, and she said, if it's so, why I thus? And she went to inquire of the Lord, and the Lord said unto her, two nations are in thy womb, and two manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels. And the one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger. So Esau is going to serve Jacob. That struggle is of war. The very opposite. They're separated from the womb, mannerisms and all that. So this is mannerisms that Esau mentions. He's a cunning hunter, a man of the field. He got the so-called white man is the only man on earth that got a hunting magazine. Even when you learn about the Germans, which are the Temanites, which are Edomites also, they say there's a very high, what do you call it? They're very, as a very highly recommended sport that they hunt. You know, Esau is also the man of the sword. He got gun magazines. He's the only one that got gun magazines. So it said, that when her days would be fulfilled, days to be delivered were fulfilled. Behold, there were twins in her womb, fraternal twins. And you know, the only people that, even over here, as many as these nations that come over here, Esau and Jacob, the so-called white man, so-called black man, has a hate, on and off, you know, love and hate relationship, so to speak. They're the only ones that deal with problems, heavy problems of racism, injustice, you know, and it's really down to Jake. because he's the man. He rules the world. So you don't ever see when it comes to injustice and all that, the free Palestine stuff like that. We talking about over here in America, racism and high levels of racism. Even though there's other countries that are encouraged to protest against racism, and they'll use the civil rights movement. They'll use, sometimes they'll use, the slavery experience, you know, to justify inhumane dealings from another people that they're impressed under. Um, and when it comes to racism and you know, story, kind of like concerns about racism, fighting racism, they'll pull the black card too, in a way. These other nations. So you have all these nations over here, Chinese, Africans, and which are not our people, East Indians, and they never ever protested over here once about injustice concerning racism. You know, so we already know what the deal with that. It says, and the first came out red all over like an hairy garment, all over like an hairy garment. Um, so this is this is talking about the story because it starts off with the generations, and these are the generations of Isaac and Abraham's son. So he didn't come. The baby didn't come out hairy. He could. I mean, he could have. I mean, babies do come out, but it's talking about as the whole story had already been told, unfolded. And this is what he's become like this man, and you see that he got he got the hair of the goats on, or skin of the hair of the goats on his arms and all that. So this is the man that child has become. That's why it says in the New Testament, "Let the children grow." These people be like, "Well, they're so young that the racism is taught." These children, you got a so-called black child, so-called white child hugging each other. They don't know no better than children. That's why I said, "Let the children grow." See what they become. And Esau became a cunning hunter, a man of the field. So it said he came out red, the red man of the earth. They put it on the Native Americans, so-called Native Americans, which are one of the tribes of Israel. And now everything that got to do with the so-called white man is red. He's red. He likes his meat red. He's, he's a bloody man. He likes to murder. The first crime family, Bogier family. Come on, crime comes from crimson. Crime comes from crimson, which is red. It talks about him in the Revelation as a red horse. He's the red dragon, the Roman Empire. All these people, all this him is pointing to him. If he's the true red alert. Like when you see a red man, you know, be aware of him. Um, it says, and he called his name Esau, which is Aisha, Ashashwa, which means wasted away, because he doesn't have no pigmentation. That's if you go back to Africa right now, and today, um, situations concerning no melanin is a heavy thing even in Africa. So and even in the scriptures concerning the law, you know, um, so those were big things concerning our people. Um, Even now, I mean, you know, we're not carnal people; we're spiritual people. But you know, we still hold. We know what beauty is, melanin. We like the, a man when he has a child. Yeah, you look just like your father, and the man, if your father's a good father, you're proud of you looking like your father, man. Boy, you look just like your father. So those attributes play in a part in this. Came out red, and they called his name Esau. It says, and after that came his brother out, and they didn't explain Jacob. Jacob was normal like any melanated man on earth. Remember, all the nations are melanated too. Um, it says, and his hand took hold on Esau's heel, and his name was called Jacob, as his name is Jacob, supplanter. You know, so he's gonna supplant Esau and get the blessing, taking him down. Even like similar to today, this might have three parts. Like, but even similar today, like the Most High got Esau thinking he's on top of his game with weapons and with control, but Jacob's gonna get his name was changed to Israel, which means Prince of Power, Yasha Allah. So Most High is gonna he's supplanting Esau all. Again, with Jacob with Israel. Being that we don't have any weapons, we don't have any um, power, so to speak, physical power, carnal power, that we're gonna take them down anyway with spiritual powers. That's a supplanting, a method of supplantation, you know, if that's a word. But yeah, so Esau is about to get duped. He already did from his blessing, and we're going to read about that. But it says, and the boy is there it go. And Esau, and his name was called Jacob, and Isaac was 60 years old when she bare them. And the boys grew, and Esau was a cunning hunter, a man of the field. And you could, the field is the world, but he's a man of the field, just like you see now on this picture. And in a broader sense, in a spiritual way, overall, he's a man of the world, going conquering with his weapon and chaotic behavior, like the caveman. And like it says in the Planet Apes, he'll kill for sport. He'll even kill his brother, which he pursued Jacob. You know, after the death of when Isaac was coming of age to die. And it says, and Jacob was a plain man dwelling in tents. And that's the spirit of the so-called black man, Latino, Native American. We like to chill. We don't like to do too much. Native Americans even got tents. They was dwelling in tents. You can see all through and read all through history, and us, the tribes of Israel, tents. Jacob in his tent, David in his tents. How Most High even says that he no longer he doesn't dwell in temples made with hands, and he said uh, dwell in he deal with Jacob in tents. So it's in portions, so to speak. That's why we don't have a big church. You know what I'm saying? Um, so anyway, it says, and Jacob sod pottage. Oh, okay. And the boys grew, and Esau was a cunning hunter, a man of the field, and Jacob was a plain man dwelling in tents. And Isaac loved Esau because he did eat of his venison. Venison is deer meat. It keeps mentioning meat, but Rebekah loved Jacob. And Jacob sod pottage. Pottage is pottage is not lentils. Pottage is just food that's cooked in a pot. So he sod pottage. He boiled cooked meat, and and it says he said, and Esau said to Jacob, And Jacob saw pot, and Esau came from the field, and he was faint. Now you can learn too in chapter 26, verse. It was a famine in the land. So Jacob, and knowing that he likes like like knowing that Esau is used to the venison, bringing the venison to Isaac, and he's not gonna come on. You gonna give your brother's at the point to die. He's faint. You're gonna give him some wholesome food. You're gonna give him meat. You're not gonna give him, you know, just beans along, and and they say it was lentils, like it wasn't meat. And it says in Hebrews that he sold his birthright for a morsel of meat. It actually says that. If you go to this woman, she's because he mentions I'm gonna get this scripture where it says, I mean, in the same scripture it says, and Esau and Esau said to Jacob, "Feed me, I pray thee, with the same red pottage." Now this woman held up a jar of lentils, and you know what she said out of her own mouth? It's called Lentils 101, about in types of lentils. She said out of her mouth, "These are red lentils." Then she said, "No, it's more like orange lentils." And then I looked up. Lentils are essentially brown, but if you split them, they have the outer shell. The outer shell is brown. If you split them, they're so-called red inside. Who says this is red? She said orange. But in any way, you're not going to be specific about the color of lentils unless you when lentils are brown, lentils are yellow, according to Esau, lentils are black or dark brown, according to, you're not going to be like specific, you know, specifically mention the color of lentils, but you are with meat, especially, you know, when when Isaac loves the savory meat that Esau brings. So they know about this meat thing. It mentioned all through this story about venison. Even when Rebecca prepared venison, she said, "Give me two good kids of the goats, and I'll make savory meat like your father loveth." So it's about meat, man, that Esau sold his birthright for, just like it says in the Hebrews. It ain't talking about no soup and no tomato soup or no red soup, man. So he said, and Jacob said, "Sell me this day thy birthright." And Esau said, "Behold, I am at a point to die, and and what profit shall this birthright do to me?" And Jacob said, "Swear it to me this day." And he swore unto him, and he sold his birthright unto Jacob. And Jacob gave Esau bread and pottage of lentils, and he did eat and drink, and rose up and went his way. Thus Esau despised his birthright. Chapter 26, and there was a famine in the land beside the first famine that was in the days of Abraham. And Isaac went into Abimelech, king of the Philistines, until great. So there was a famine. So you're gonna give your brother some wholesome, when he's at a point to die too. You know, I also looked up. I look up. I looked up savory, which is dainties, which just meat that he loved. And then if you look up red, ruddy lentils, but why would red be lentils when, or be categorized with lentils the same thing as red, when lentils can be brown? Lentils could be, I mean, they are brown, essentially brown. when lentils could be yellow, black, and so forth. So it says Adama, like uh, from the ground, but lentils, like I said, are not essentially red. And why would he make a statement? Give me that same pottage from the ground. So these devils, they're trying to say that Adam was red. They're trying to say that the lentils were red. No, it's meat that was red, and meat is not ruddy. Meat has never been explained to be ruddy. That only applies to explaining, you know, a man pretty much for the most part. Um, but meat has is the blood of the meat is red. Red gotta do something with blood. And then if you want to kind of mention something too, is like when Cain killed Abel, his blood cried from the ground, and we know that's what that means. But it didn't mention blood was of the ground, same as the ground. Blood is different. The color of blood is different from the color of the ground, man. The ground and the soil of the earth is brown, different shades of brown. And you got the darker soil. So it's not red, man. They're trying to do this red clay stuff. That's brown, man. We talking about the color of blood, crimson, which he is a criminal. He's the first criminal family, and all through his generation, he been murdering. He murdered his Cain, and he pursued his brother Jacob with the sword, and he's the man of the sword. So what do you do with the sword? You kill, and you shed many men's blood. It talks about him also. It says, "How thou hast not hated blood, blood shall pursue thee." So he's a bloody man. It's talking about blood, man. Blood red. Um, Here's those different lentils. Come on, man. Different color lentils. I don't know why it does that, but yeah. Come on, man. So I looked up. And it says lentils are lentils brown. It says lentils essentially brown. Go to Google. And that's stupid because they just said they are. No, lentils not essentially brown, although brown lentils are a common variety. Are a common variety. Lentils come in many colors, including green, red, yellow, and black, and can be sold whole or split. The color is determined on the type of. So now, if you go down to here, there's different type of lentil. Red and yellow lentils. It says these are split and have their outer coating removed, which causes them to cook more quickly and break down. So first, they're brown. Are lentils red? See, this is the devil that's playing. And who said, like I said, who says this is red? Red lentils cook quickly because they are typically split in skin, causing them to break down to mushy. Yeah, they're brown color variety. Red is common lentil color along with green. And where is it? Well, if you look, uh, lentils originally brown, and they're gonna say no, of course. And then, as they come in variety, for example, red and yellow lentils are often just brown lentils. Look, for example, red and yellow lentils are often just brown lentils that have their outer seed coat removed and have been split. You think Jacob was doing all that splitting the red? He, what did Rebecca do for Jacob? What do Jacob? Isaac wait for Esau to do that he loves him for is bringing him meat, venison, deer meat. So Jacob, in a time of famine, Jacob is not, and a time to supplant, Jacob is not going to sit there and split the outer sea coat to be removed to make red lentils, man. So yeah, they're brown. Lentils are often just brown lentils. Red and yellow lentils are often just brown lentils. So Esau, he lose that argument. Oh, it was red lentils, man. Come on, man. It was red meat, and it tells you that um, in Hebrews, for one morsel of meat, you devils. I'm gonna do a second part, and I'm gonna read that story, but um, Hebrews 12:16, lest there be any fornicator or profane person as Esau, because Esau is Edom, they're the same people, who for one morsel of meat sold his birthright, man. So before the meat was done, Esau said, and Jacob probably told him that, well, let me get through cooking it first. Make sure it's well done. He said, nah, I don't want to wait. I'm at a point to die. Just give me that what you eating, man. For one morsel of meat. They show you that. They kind of reiterate that in the Matrix. So as he's coming from his hunting, Jacob cooking red meat and lentils, and he sold his birthright for meat. Okay, what did it say? And he despised his birthright. So we'll get more on the story where he lied on Jacob and said he supplanted me these two times, which was supplanting. Jacob does mean supplant, Yaiquap. But he sold his birthright. He despised it. So it expresses to the spirit of so-called white man today. Everything's microwave. Everything. He doesn't wait for anything. He doesn't pray. He doesn't have faith. He doesn't have patience. Everything is a needle. Everything's a fix, patch up, quick patch up. Everything's like, well, super artificial. Everything's AI. Now we don't grow food no more. It's GMO. We don't want to learn and read books and really study and apply patience along with our wisdom. We want an artificial intelligence. Just let it download in your mind, just like the Matrix. You remember when Trinity didn't know how to fly a helicopter, and she downloaded that in her mind in an instant, and she knew how. So that's what they want. That's the caveman, uh, characteristics, you know, of when you out in the field and you faint, you'll eat anything. And they're gonna try to test us too, because there's gonna be another famine in the land. You know, they'll try to offer you just like the time of the Maccabees. That he offered them swine, and so they can offer you. They can do that again. Offer you swine. Well, I know he's gonna despise his God because they're not supposed to eat swine. So let's see Let's starve him out and see if he eat this sandwich. Esau did shit like that a lot, and it happened a lot in slavery. They don't show you the spiritual stuff that happened in slavery. They just, you know, the things that they overcame and things that they knew of the Bible and according to their Lord that they did not do. Esau don't show that. That's the devil he is. Anyway, we're gonna get more into the story. Hope it was edifying. Shalom.